Do you remember your grandparents?
Do I remember?
Yeah.
I remember on my mother's side, but not on my father's side.
On your mother's side, the Markoviches?
Markovich is from Houtzdale, Pennsylvania.
Did they speak English?
Yeah,
Yeah.
broken, but they spoke English.
But they spoke, what, Czechoslovakian?
Yeah.
But you couldn't understand when they talked that?
No, just when they spoke English.
And they lived in Houtzdale?
They lived in Houtzdale. Yeah.
And what, you went to visit them sometime?
Oh, we went up to visit them 5-6 times a year. That's when my mother was driving.
Yeah.
And she would drive, and she would take us kids, and we'd go up and stay for days. And then we'd spend the summers up there.
They had a big house up there?
Yeah, 4-bedroom house. It's off the beaten highway. It was nice.
So you knew them growing up then?
Yeah.
But not on the Murray side?
No, I didn't know that they were gone when I grew up.
And, see, you remember the house that they lived in, the Markoviches?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have pictures of her on here somewhere.
A big house? You remember what they did for a living?
He was he worked in the coal mines for a while, and then my Uncle John, which would have been a brother, he had
a brother of his or a brother of Gugger's?
A brother of Gugger's. He had a business.
Uncle Jim said he was like a half brother.
Yeah, I don't know if he was or not.
I don't know.
I was Uncle John. He was kind of a handyman, a bricklayer. He built a church.
Uncle Jim said he was like a safe cracker or something?
Yeah, he could break into houses and unlock locks, and he was just a handy guy. Everybody knew John Markovich. He could do anything.
Fix anything, and they used to
Or
say.
fix anything,
You
yeah.
can fix anything, Uncle
Yeah.
John.
And he lived there too in that house, or he lived in Houtzdale?
No, he was married and lived across town.
In Wimber?
No, in Houtzdale.
Well, what happened to him?
Well, he eventually died. I think he must have been way up in his 60s when he died.
And then so your grandmother Mark, they're both buried in Houtzdale?
Yeah, they're buried in Houtzdale. At the top of the cemetery, it's the cemetery at the top of the hill.
Okay.
And my Aunt Mary's buried there too.
Well,
Now, was
she's
Aunt
the one
Mary a
that
half?
She's the one that had the stroke.
she's a
that-
Markovich too, or?
Yeah, that would be my mother's
Was
sister.
that,
That's Gugger's
how
sister.
was Uncle John and, how was it that Uncle John was one of those people married twice?
Not that I'm aware of.
Because Uncle Jim said John was a half-brother of Douglas.
Well, maybe, I don't know. That I don't know. Doris,
How many sisters did Gugger have?
Gugger just had
Chris,
she had the one sister, and Mary.
and
The one that had a stroke, Mary.
right,
And
So she had two
Chris.
sisters?
and Chris.
Chris.
Two
Three
sisters.
sisters.
No,
Two.
just two.
Two. Chris. And Chris had two girls, twins, Doris and DeSales.
Okay. How about, well, you didn't know the Murray grandparents, but you remember going to Arnott, though.
I remember going to Arnott. We would go up 3 or 4 times a year with my dad, especially Memorial Day. There was always a cemetery, mass at the cemetery, and my dad knew everybody. I was probably, well, when I first started going, probably 5 or 6 or 7. But he would go up, and then we'd go to Arnott, or then maybe we'd go all the way up to Elmira and stay in Elmira overnight.
Just once a year, or on Memorial Day, or?
No, 2 or 3 times a year we'd go up there.
And just visit relatives?
Yeah, mostly the Clunes.
And the Clunes were
We'd stay at the
cousins?
Clunes, yeah.
But you're not
Vincent.
sure how they're related?
Vincent and Margaret Clune.
And do you know how
Yeah.
they're related or not?
Well, that's how we found out when we went to the reunion. Um, Peggy Clune's grandmother
Was a Splan.
and and
Grandpa, my dad.
mother were sisters.
Yeah, that's it. My dad's sister. Let me again, do that again. Peggy
Peggy
Coons.
Clune's grandmother and Pop-Up's mother were sisters.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, what else do you remember of Arnon? And you remember the church there?
I just remember vaguely the church. I remember the cemetery, and once or twice I remember my dad would go down this small road, and he used to say, "There's the house that I was raised in," but I was pretty
Could you
small.
pick that out now if you went
No,
by it?
no, no. I was too small.
When we went up there, we didn't go to Arnott, did we?
No.
So you don't remember much else of Arnon? then?
No,
Just
no,
that?
it was just a coal mining town where my dad's people settled, I guess,
Yeah.
and they worked in the mines there. And then the relatives went from Arnott to Elmira, or Blossburg, and they all settled there.
And you don't remember the Coke Town, Shanty Town, or
No, no,
no, like the different parts of Arnott?
no,
No.
no.
And did your dad work there in Arnott? When did he leave Arnott?
I think he did. Well, I think he went to Johnstown in 1915 or 16, so it was prior to that.
So he went to Johnstown or Wimber?
Wimber. That's when he started with Prudential Insurance Company.
So he went from coal mine to Prudential Insurance?
Yeah,
And then he moved from Arnott to Wimber?
yeah. Yep, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay. And
Because
that's,
he was the first Prudential Insurance agent that the company had. There was only 2 agents in town, one Metropolitan, one Prudential, and my dad was a Prudential. And that's when Prudential had one office, and that was in Newark, New Jersey.
so he was the only Prudential
He was
agent
the only Prudential agent
in Wimber?
in Wimber.
And he walked door to door.
He went door to door or used a streetcar.
They had streetcars in Wimber?
Yep.
So he went there when he was pretty young then?
Yeah, I would guess so. We went there before the flood. We went there in 1915 or 16.
And do you recall how he met Gaga? No?
No, I don't. No, I really don't. If I knew,
know
I'd
she
forgot.
worked in Cherry Tree, and then she did she
What
work
the-
in Johnstown before she went to Cherry Tree, or did she work in
Uncle Jim
Johnstown?
thought it was Aunt Isadora fixed up.
I was just gonna
Yeah.
say that. I think she worked at
With
the
Aunt
same
Isadora.
store that Aunt Isadora worked.
Right. That's right.
Ainsley's
Yeah,
in Johnstown.
yeah, and that's how they met.
That must have been after she left Cherry Tree.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Oh, okay, so that's how they met then.
Yeah.
And the Murrays were very upset when they got married. Even Aunt Izzy. Aunt Izzy told me that.
Yeah.
They didn't think Gaga was good enough.
No.
No.
And they waited to get married because your father's mother didn't.
Approve of it?
Yeah.
I don't know, is
That's
that,
what
I
Jim
think
was
they
saying.
did.
I never heard that.
No, I don't think so. I never heard that. Only one I remember Izzy telling me that they never really wanted, never really thought they would marry because they didn't feel that, Gaga was good enough for Papa.
The best thing for him.
That was the only thing I ever heard from Izzy.
And was your father strict growing up or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty strict. I'd say he was very strict. So was my mother.
Yeah, both.
My mother was more strict because my dad wasn't home very much. He was always out selling insurance, or he was in the office that he had at his house. Each week he'd have to run an account.
Oh, his office was at his house?
Yeah. And then,
Well, I thought you said they had Prudential had an office.
yeah, their big office was in
Yeah.
Newark,
Oh, okay.
but he was in there, Pennsylvania.
And he worked from his house.
Yeah. And then he had a sister, Kathleen.
And that was the house on Graham Avenue?
Right. Yep, all our kids grew up there.
And they owned that house then, and rented the other side
Mhm.
to someone. Oh,
Russo.
oh. Mary Russo. Oh,
Yep.
So you never lived anywhere else, you lived there, that was it?
Just there in Wimber, yeah. And there used to be inside the garage there was a trap door. And you open up the trap door and the truck would back in and dump a little coal in.
The garage was up on the hill?
Yeah, it was up on top of the lot. And then you go in to you have to wheel the coal down in a wheelbarrow load
Oh, all right. Down at the furnace.
down to the furnace.
down to the cellar door that lifted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Then as years went on, they got very modern, and they got trucks that had
The chute.
chutes. They could get it in from the front.
Yeah, I remember Daddy doing
Did your father have any hobbies or things that he did?
Not really. He was a great guy. Everybody loved my dad. He would walk up to a house and he'd bang on the door and open it and walk in. Everybody knew Joe Murray. And he
it.
was
Because
very,
he collected by the week or something,
he
right?
collected by the week, 25 cents a week.
So he had to go around collecting?
Hmm.
That's how they collected
All over
insurance.
the mine towns and everything, right?
And then he had a problem with if one of his customers had a baby and he'd end up sitting having a couple of beers and then he wouldn't get home for supper. We would worry because he carried a lot of money with him. But when my brother and I both were little, we knew where to go. So we would go over on our bicycles and find him at one of the mines, or we'd see his car, and then we'd put the bike in the back of the car and either Jimmy or I would drive home.
And what kind of car did he have? Or he had a lot of...
Oh, he had a new car most every year.
Yeah.
He had a new car about every year, every 2 years he bought a new car.
So he liked cars then?
Well, yeah, he always liked cars. He liked a little mechanical pencils and things like that. He had no other hobbies. He was active in the local borough council. And his uncle, Bernie Murray, was very active on the school board. So he was very active civically.
That was his uncle.
His uncle was active on the school board, but my dad was active on the borough council. Like during World War II, he was head of the ration board. He was in charge of all the ration tickets that went to truckers and cars and people
For gas.
for gas.
Yeah.
And he belonged to that, how about any other clubs, like, I don't know?
He was very, very religious. He was very active. He wasn't active in the church, but he went to church religiously.
Was he in Knights? In Knights of Columbus?
He was,
Yeah.
he was 4th degree Knights of Columbus.
What does that mean? They got, was like an Eagle
Different
Scout?
degrees,
Knights of
like the
Columbus had
Masons.
degrees,
Like the Masons.
like the Masons. Like
Yeah.
I'm a 3rd, but I don't practice it.
How
I'm
about,
not active.
what did he dress? How did he...
Well, like you see in the magazines,
Yeah.
in the Columbia magazine.
No.
No, like
When
how
you-
did...
Oh, how do you dress? Suit coat every day.
Yeah, he wore, because Gaga would tell me about ironing white shirts. She'd have 17 white shirts, because he wore a white shirt every day. And then when the boys had white shirts, she would sometimes have 17 white shirts to iron with a flat iron.
Every day. Works.
Yeah.
And did he have any schooling, just high school, or just?
Just high school. Well, I don't think he finished high school.
Mm-mm.
No.
He never finished high school, no. And he had a couple of strokes right at the time that Prudential Insurance Company started out as strictly life, nothing else. And they started to get into health and accidents and this kind of stuff. And that's when he had a stroke. And he had to take a disability retirement.
He had a couple of strokes?
Oh, yeah. He had a couple of them, then he had a great big one. And it was right down the middle. All he could say would be tut-tut. And we moved him from the hospital to the dining room where we made a bedroom out of it. And my mother took care of him. And she had it down to a science. She knew exactly when his bowels were going to move. And then we would put him out on the front porch. The people would go by and wave at him.
And Jimmy got a special car to take him riding. Remember that old Nash? Because he could put the seat back.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was that way for
Now
4
5 years.
or 5 years
Yeah.
until your mother came along and insisted that he have a complete physical, and they did. And they found that the vertebrae was malignant
From the kidney.
from the kidneys in here.
He had cancer of the kidney. So that was really what killed him.
Shortly after that, he died.
Mm.
It was in 1960 he died.
Let's see,
He got to see Kelly and Bridget. Bridget was like just born when he died.
How about, did he talk a lot, or was he quiet, or?
Oh, no, he talks a lot.
Oh, he was, yeah,
He talks a lot. Everybody liked my dad.
very jolly.
His short temper, or?
No, not at all.
How about, did he smoke or drink a lot, or?
Well, he did smoke. I don't think he smoked a lot, but he did smoke. And when he drank a lot.
Yeah.
He'd go on binges.
And then he'd be off for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah.
And then he'd go on a binge.
And Gaga get mad.
How about,
He took the kids to school every day
in the car?
in a car. We lived on, well, between first and second, and the school was on 23rd. And he would go out in the mornings and he would take us and drop us off at school.
And he just walked home?
We came home for lunch.
Yeah.
Then we'd walk back to school again, then walk home in the afternoon.
How many blocks was that?
Oh, 23 blocks, that's a long way. That's about a mile.
How much did you have for lunch? How much time?
An hour and a half.
Anna Mary Francis did that too.
Yep, everybody did.
Let's see, did he travel a lot? I know he went to Florida before.
Yeah, as he got older, him and his mother, my mother they loved to go to Florida. So most of the time they would drive down, and I would fly down and drive them home. And sometimes I would drive them down and come home and leave them there, and they'd stay for a month or two.
Oh, they had a place there?
My dad loved it, my mother didn't like it.
No,
No.
Gaga didn't like it.
They had a
They
place
did that
there?
until she had a stroke.
They rented a place.
They rented a place?
Yeah,
You remember
she had her
what part of
stroke.
Florida,
Orlando.
or Orlando?
Yeah, she had a stroke.
Then they
She-
stopped going in
she
after
didn't wanna
she
go.
had her stroke.
She had a stroke?
Yeah,
Oh,
Gaga
yeah.
had like 5 or 6 strokes.
Lots
yeah.
of them.
Let's see. Did he like music, or? No?
Not really. No, not really.
How about, did he have a favorite food, or?
Oh, he
Something
loved
like-
food.
He loved to eat, but nothing
Wow.
favorite, really.
No.
He used to tease me about the pickles. He used to say, I'll fight you for those pickles, because he and I liked pickles,
He used to love to sit around and just talk bullshit.
like Uncle Jim.
Exactly like my brother.
Yeah. Yeah, he loved to talk.
Did he have any close friends or relatives, or?
Oh, yeah, the Rileys.
Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Riley. He was a Jewel Tea man. They lived across the street.
What's
Yeah.
Jewel Tea?
It was a Jewel Tea company, a man that would go door to door
Like,
selling food.
Everything, sold
It
everything.
was called Jewel Tea. And then he was very close to a couple of people that he worked with, different agents. There was a Joe Delahunt,
Mhm.